Guys, welcome to Friday's PowerPoint. This is a grammar crash course. I'm also going to upload this actual PowerPoint for you to look at. But if you'll notice, the whole first 9 slides are all about commas. So you can start on slide number 10, which is we're going into semicolons and colons. So this is where we're going to start going over it today. First thing I want to tell you about semicolons and colons is that people get them mixed up, and the reason is because they both have the name colon in them. Aside from that, they have absolutely nothing in common, okay? They do nothing even similar to the same thing. So I want us to be very clear on what semicolons do and what colons do. General rule about colons introduce certain elements of the sentence, and often these are going to be lists, but a colon can never interrupt the sentence. Okay, so you never want to just be rambling on mid-sentence, bam, colon. You want a thought to be finished before you introduce a colon. So let me show you an example of that. Okay, now here are 2 samples. Last summer, I took an unforgettable trip to Italy with my husband, my friend Mary, and Mary's husband Jack. And here's the same sentence, but the bold one is correct. Okay, now the reason that the bold one is correct is because even though we have a list here, my husband, my friend Mary, and Mary's husband Jack, this colon interrupts the sentence, okay? I want you to read everything before a colon you're thinking about putting in and ask yourself, does this sound complete, okay? Last summer I took an unforgettable trip to Italy with, okay? No. We're waiting for the rest, so we wouldn't put a colon here. So for this sentence, we wouldn't put anything. We just say, last summer I took an unforgettable trip to Italy with my husband, my friend Mary, and Mary's husband Jack. Now, if this sentence were different, if this sentence said, last summer I took an unforgettable trip to Italy with some important people, colon, my husband, my friend Mary, and Mary's husband Jack, okay? That will be fine because it's like I finished my thought and then I have my colon. So that's the rule with colons. A lot of people think, okay, I've got a list, I need a colon. Not at all, okay? You can write every paper you ever need to write in your entire life and never need a colon. All right, but some people like them because they do add emphasis. So just think about that. Finish your complete thought first if you're going to choose to put in a colon. Okay. Another example. Luckily, we had no need for a translator because Mary speaks several European languages, Italian, French, and Spanish. All right, and again, the bold one is correct because I actually finished my thought. Mary speaks several European languages. That could be a full sentence. It's an independent clause. Then I introduce my list. Okay. Now semicolons, remember that all semicolons are just replacing a comma and a conjunction. They separate 2 independent clauses. That's all they do. They don't introduce lists. They don't do anything like that. That's their only function. They separate 2 independent clauses. So remember that semicolons just take the place of a comma and a coordinating conjunction. So any place you would put a comma in one of the fanboys, you can put a semicolon instead. Here's some examples. Sally is a really nice person, semicolon. I don't understand why she got upset with you. So we've got an independent clause, then we've got another independent clause, semicolon in the middle. That kid won't eat anything but chicken nuggets, semicolon, they are his favorite food. 2 independent clauses. Basically, here's the rule here. If you could put a period there, you could also put a semicolon there. Okay? Ask yourself, could I put a period in between these 2 clauses? If so, semicolon will work. They don't. Semicolons and colons don't even do close to the same thing. So don't get confused with them. A lot of people, I think people just don't like colons because they seem so serious and like you really have to commit to a colon. So a lot of times people will just put a semicolon where a colon should go, and just don't do that. Don't be that person. What's wrong here? Okay, this is another thing a lot of people do. John needs to mail this birthday present to his father, semicolon, and the post office is about to close. Now, here's the thing. You will never, ever, ever, ever need a semicolon with one of the fanboys, with one of those coordinating conjunctions, okay? Because semicolon replaces the coordinating conjunction and a comma, okay? So this is like redundant here, all right? So what you could do is just eliminate this and, okay? Or you could replace your semicolon with a comma to fix the sentence. All right. Now, okay, sorry, I messed up. All right, so here we are, back where we're supposed to be. What's wrong here? Amanda loves it when we go to Busch Gardens, semicolon, but she's afraid to write Alvin, guys. Same issue, okay? Semicolon with a conjunction, you'd never need to do it. All right, next thing we're going to go over is capitalization and numerals. So here's some general rules of numerals. Usually, Okay, here's the general rule, but I'll go ahead and tell you there's about a billion exceptions to this rule, so it's not the best rule. Usually, if you can express a number in less than 3 written words, you should write it out as a word. Okay, that's the general rule. The 19th century is very interesting to study, so I can write out 19th in less than 3 words, so I'll write it out. The one thing that upsets me is that I forgot my book bag. Okay, I can write 1 in less than 3 words, so there it is. I have 365 days to study for this test. So 365 would be more than 3 words, so I put the actual numeral instead of writing out the word. Okay? But now that I've said that, here are the exceptions. And your mind's going to be blown by all the exceptions. You're going to think, why did they even make a rule when there's so many exceptions? And I don't know. Okay. So, first one, parts of a written work. Okay? These are just things you have to memorize. It doesn't make sense, but these are just things you want to commit to memory. Anytime you have a section of a book, whether it be a chapter, a page number, uh, you know, whatever. That's pretty much it for books, chapters and page numbers. Chapter 8. Okay, now I can write out the word 8 in less than 3 words, but because it's a section of a book, I have to use the numerals. So use numerals with any parts of a written work. Chapter 8, page 4, use numerals. Okay? Most people know this one by heart. Use numerals as part of an address. So she lives at 21 South Street. The party is located at 7 Washington Drive. So even though I could write out 21 in less than 3 words and 7, because it's part of an address, I do use the numerals. Statistics, scores, and measurements. Okay, so anything like this: pounds, ounces, inches, centimeters, grams, liters, you know, cups, absolutely anything. Percentages, too. Anything like that that shows any kind of unit of measurement, you use numerals. So 1 year after joining a gym, Trevor had lost 25 pounds. Okay, so pounds is a unit of measure. You have to use the numeral. I was surprised to find out that 8% of our students failed the test. Okay, 8 is a percentage in this case, so we write out 8. The score of the basketball game was 25-32. Okay, I have to write that out in numerals because it's a score. Okay, the final score was 15-5. Okay, gotta write it out in numerals. Another thing is, no matter what, you can disregard every other rule if this comes up. You never start a sentence with a numeral. And the best way to remember this is just you can't capitalize a numeral, so you have to write out the word. 350 of our students are going to the fair this weekend. Now, normally, we wouldn't write out 350 because this is more than 3 words. But because it's beginning the sentence, you have to write it out. Now, a lot of people hate to do this because it's awkward to start a sentence with a huge number, so sometimes you can just get around it by adding an extra word or something. Approximately 350 of our students are going to the fair this weekend, or roughly 350 of our students. Exactly 350 of our students are going to the fair. So a lot of people get around it that way. But if you really want to start a sentence with a numeral, you have to write it out fully. You can't just use the actual numbers. Rules of time. Use numerals with AM and PM and use written words with o'clock. So this one's kind of easy. People don't really know this by heart. I know I never did until it was taught to me. But this is easy to commit to memory because basically if you're writing AM, PM, that's shorter. So you're going to use the shorter version of the number. You're going to write out the actual numerals. If you're using o'clock, you write out the whole word. We're going to get there at 3 o'clock. She doesn't get why we're leaving at 2 o'clock in the morning. Okay, so use numerals with AM and PM, use written words with o'clock. Capitalization, this is tricky. You capitalize sections, not directions. Okay, so North America, East Texas, drive 40 miles east to eastern North Carolina. So I'm talking about a section of North Carolina. Okay, so this one, I don't even like to go over it because it's ridiculous. But if you're saying, I drove southeast to Colorado, don't capitalize it. If you're saying I'm in eastern North Carolina, you capitalize it. So you capitalize a section. You don't capitalize a direction. Drive southeast to Colorado. Drive east to Texas. North America, obviously, is capitalized. So don't worry about that too much. Doesn't come up a whole lot, but that's the general rule. Okay, capitalization, capitalize names of family members. Capitalize family names when you're using them as they were the person's actual name. Okay, so pretty much, if I can replace this thing this word mom with my mom's actual name. So my mom's name is Kathy. If I can replace mom with Kathy and it still makes sense, capitalize it because I'm using it as though it's her name. I went to the store with mom. Okay, I went to the store with Kathy. I'm going to capitalize it because I'm saying it like it's her name. But if I say I went to the store with my mom, I'm not saying it like it's her name anymore. I'm saying it like it's her relationship to me. Okay? I went fishing with Uncle Steve. I'm saying Uncle Steve like that is his name. Okay? But if I say my uncle Steve loves to go fishing, that's different. Dad hates it when I slam the door. My dad hates it when I slam the door. Okay? So I went to the store with my mom. I went to the store with your mom. Okay? Not using it like it's her name. Okay? But if I am, I capitalize it just as though it's her name. So that's the general rule on that. Other rules for capitalization: capitalize books like the Bible, any holy book, Bible, Quran, Book of Mormon, whatever holy book that you happen to come across, capitalize it always. Of course, always capitalize names. Don't capitalize seasons. This is one that people have trouble with. I always am inclined to want to capitalize the seasons. It is spring. I feel like I should always capitalize it, but you don't. You don't capitalize spring, summer, fall, winter. Of course, you capitalize the beginning of the sentence. You capitalize names and brands, and of course, days of the week and months. Okay? So here's some general advice real quick. Don't forget to review your paper for proper tense and voice. Okay? Now, uh, you're just doing your rough draft, so we'll go over this more and, hopefully from the time you produce the draft to the time you produce, turn in the final paper, we'll get this done pretty well. But here's the thing about tense and voice. Here's the best way I can show you is with an example. When not hard at work, my dad loved to laugh. He has a smile that is as bright as an early morning sun. This is a tense error, okay? Because when not hard at work, my dad loved to laugh. So we're thinking past tense. He has a smile. Now we're in present tense. So I don't care if your paper is in past tense or present tense, but I do ask that it be consistent, okay? I don't care if you write it all in past. I don't care if you write it all in present. But I hate it when it goes back and forth like this because it's confusing to the reader. And remember, we always think about audience above all else and not confusing our reader. So we don't want to do that. Are we in the past? Are we in the present? Decide at the beginning of your paper. That could be one of your pre-writing activities. What tense am I in? All right. This is voice, okay? Voice issues are the number one issues I see. When the user checks the manual, they will see that they have to collect a drill in order to assemble the table. If you don't do this, the table will not be put together properly. Now this has voice that's all over the place. Think about the voice you're going to use. Are you going to use first person, second person? Okay, now this starts out third person. When the user checks the manual, okay? Now we have they. So first I had one user, and now I have they. So I really should say when the user checks the manual, he or she will see that he or she has to collect a drill in order to assemble the table. So that's fixed. Then I have you. People really like to just randomly insert you when we haven't been talking to you the whole time. So, and then all of a sudden it's like, if you don't do this, the table won't be put together properly. So I'm talking about the user. Okay? Now, if I like you better, I can make it you. But just like with tense, we want it to be consistent. So I should say, when the user checks the manual, he will see that he has to collect a drill in order to assemble the table. If the user doesn't do this, the table will not be put together right. Or I could say, when you check the manual, you will see that you have to collect a drill if you don't do this, okay? So I don't care, but I just want it to be consistent. That's my main pet peeve there, is when things are inconsistent. So go back through. Make sure you are consistent with tense and voice. Another one that has to do with their, okay? Everyone needs a role model in their life. This is a really popular one. Everyone is singular. Their is plural. While conducting, a drum major will stand on a podium so that every band member can see them, okay? Not correct. While conducting, a drum major will stand on the podium so that every band member can see him or her, okay? Because a drum major is singular, them is plural. Now, sometimes you might want to say, I don't want to say him or her because that sounds weird. Fine, make it all plural. While conducting, drum majors will stand on podium so that every band member can see them, okay? I do not care as long as it's consistent. I want it to match up. Okay? Now, but last but not least, use scholarly language. You'll be amazed at what I see. Read over these. These are legitimate, real examples that I have gotten. Okay? Use scholarly language. You are a scholar. You are a professional student. Please, please use appropriate language. Okay? We want these to be scholarly, well put together papers. Okay? Alrighty, so go over that, and thanks a lot.